All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another live Truth Seeker podcast. Yep, we're going to have this discussion. I've got example to share with you all. Let's let those notifications go out. And in the meantime, as usual, we go ahead and do uh, our checks and things like that to make sure that everything is good to go on that end since I'm not on the receiving end. Okay. Yeah, there's some things that occur during the uh, during the trauma healing. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Hmm. Yeah, excuse the delay. I don't know what the enemy's trying to do, but yeah, we say, get behind us, Satan. You are an offense to us. Let me go ahead and turn off that other light because that's too much. I realize that. And I know that we are running a few minutes behind today, but like I say often, it's always going to be around 2:30 p.m. You never know. Life happens, things like that, but we do our best, all right, God willing, to get up here with y'all. So let's continue to let those notifications go out. I see y'all coming on in. This is very, very important because you don't want to let the enemy, you don't want to let the devil trick you into stepping out of character at work, in public, what have you. Okay, it's all part of learning how to obtain and maintain that emotional regulation. And I know it's tough because we realize that it's because of our empathy. Okay, remember that empathy is the spiritual energy conduit. For those who don't know, you know what a conduit is, right? Okay, when you think of electrical wires and things like that, it's a tubing, right? Conduit. It's like a metal tubing. Okay, I was a plumber and pipe fitter for a short time, so I could share this with y'all. A long time ago, y'all. And so the conduit, it is, it can be a copper tubing, it can be any kind of metal tubing, okay, and it's gonna have wires go through, right? Okay, for electricity. So when that, and the reason I know that, I know what that got to do with plumbing and pipe fitting. Well, because on certain jobs we worked with alongside electricians, things like that. So if we ask questions and things like that, and so we learned a little bit more than what our own craft or trade was. Because I started out as a maintenance person on one of the job sites, so I had time to ask, "What's that? What does that do? How does that work?" Anyhow, all right, that's for another day. Now, that's why I refer to the empathy as the spiritual energy conduit because it is like an electrical tubing with the wire. Okay, but this is spiritual. It's the spiritual wires that are inside that tubing. What is that tubing? The tubing is our physical body. Let that sink in. Okay? The tubing is our physical body. What's inside the physical body besides our organs and tissue? A nervous system, right? The nervous system is very much, it's not aware of the spiritual in a sense of like it had like the autonomic nervous system, it's automatic. It does what it does. It has no idea what's going on in the spiritual. This is why we come to learn what's going on in the spiritual so that we can get that emotional regulation, right? That balance between the spiritual and the physical. I talk about a lot because we're the ones that have to be aware. Our nervous system is like, what's that? Our nervous system is going to respond the way it knows how to respond to certain stimuli. So let's go ahead. Yes, hi, welcome. Let's go ahead and get the formalities out of the way for the algorithms. All right, thank you all for understanding. I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA's Truth Seeker podcast, streaming on the YouTube channel, Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center. Trauma healing and spiritual growth occur here, yes, and at CHAAcademyBTBW.com with God's wisdom, basic scientific facts, tried and true techniques, and more. The link to the Academy is in the video description below for quicker access. And some of y'all may need to copy and paste that link to view what CDHRWDRMD Academy offers to help you level up your trauma healing and spiritual growth. All right, so now that we've established, all right, one more time, this is to help y'all put it in perspective as to why. Okay, when you're going through the healing process, you're trying to figure out, okay, there's all kinds of triggers out there. I'm gonna share with y'all. I got one today. Okay, I got one today on my phone that it didn't trigger me because God stepped in and said, remember, they're not gonna do nothing as long as they getting that money. It's the way they word the text message, right? Yeah, because apparently I missed a step when I had to turn in my assignment last week. Well, anywho, it's all good. It's just it's that term check-in that we have to turn in. Well, I did one part, but I thought that was it. I thought that, never mind, anyhow. And so I emailed my chair. I was like, I totally missed a step, and I really did not mean to. I thought I did what I was supposed to do. But anywho, the way they worded the text message, was to try and instill fear. And so I caught it. I was like, nah, because as long as they're getting this, never mind. God's like, just log in, take care of it, be done with it. All right, but those things are, it's just all trying to trigger you because it used to work in the past. I want y'all to really get that in there, okay? That when you get to this point and you see that all the enemy has is what used to work in the past, and so you realize, and now remember too, because while I'm in here, my empathy is in the neutral position, right? Okay, so God will step in, and I'm going to share. Chris has given me permission to share with you all a real world incident where this can happen because it did, right? And so I want to tell y'all, yes, when you reach out via email, I'm going to get back to you, okay? And it's going to be within at least 48 hours, okay? Sometimes quicker than that. It just depends because you got to remember something. I am also still in self-care, okay? I'm still in that season of self-care. Not the extra self-care, but self-care, okay? Becoming more aware of, okay, do I need this B vitamin, that B vitamin? What do we need now? Because we changed our diet. You know what I'm saying? Just to give y'all something, all right, to understand if I don't get back to you right away. And sometimes we might be a few minutes late getting up here, and that's why we're working some things out, okay? So there you go. But don't ever hesitate. If you find yourself in this situation or something similar that I'm about to share with you all, please do not hesitate to reach out and save this video to watch later, okay, if you need to, for the reminders, because it's going to happen on and off. Tried and true, okay, y'all, it's going to happen on and off. And I'll share with you all one of my own experiences. And it was really intriguing because whoever it was, the caregiver with this little girl, I don't know if it was the mother, I don't know who it was, but they were just, anywho, basically, when the little girl dropped something walking, they basically, that disapproving voice, right? And I just stood there and I watched, and the abuser was looking at me out of the side eye. I'm like, So I just looked at the little girl, and in my mind, I was like, you're going to be all right. I didn't say it out loud, but I said it in spiritual. So it was an eye-opener for sure. But that's, during the time when God was revealing to me that the abusers, when they look at us like that, y'all, they don't even know they're doing it because they're demonically possessed. Okay, that's not an excuse. It's just they really, truly are crept and unaware they're even doing that. It's their demon spirit that's controlling them. I know it takes a while to wrap your head around that. It's like, wait a minute, what? Yes, it's because it's the demon spirit who can see the anointing of the chosen one. The human host cannot. All right, get that straight. The human host of the demon, remember, it's spiritual, right? The Godhead is spirit. So the only thing that can spiritually discern would be a spirit of some kind, right? Okay, the human host of the demon spirit, they cannot spiritually discern. Remember, is it what? 2 Corinthians. Let me look. Hold on. I don't know now. Right. 1 Corinthians 2, verse 14. Okay. 1 Corinthians 2, verse 14. This is why I write this stuff down, because we'll cover it quite often, because they cannot spiritually discern. All right. So when you come across that and the abuser is giving you a side eye or evil eye or whatever, they don't know they're doing that. So keep that in mind. That's another way to help whoever needs it to overcome, the triggers. Because once you realize, you know what, that human host don't even know they're doing that. Now, when they are dishing out the abuse, yes, they are aware of that. Now, for us, because chosen one are empathic, and the empathy is the spiritual energy conduit. So I want y'all to remember this. So for whoever needs this reminder, write this down. Make sure when you put your feet on the floor, after you thank God for another day and you put on that armor, I'm telling you, make sure that armor's on, working out that salvation. You've got to do a daily self-check-in with you, because you're checking in with God when you do that as well. And you're like, okay, where are we at? Where are we at? Are we cool? We know what we got to do today. We're not stressing ourselves out, right? Okay, good. Kind of doing a awareness check. Okay? Call it that. It's an awareness check. You've got to do it. Got to do it every single day. It becomes second nature, by the way. I still do it. I don't have to think about it, because I've been doing it for quite some time now. Right? For at least, for some years. Okay? So doing that daily self-check-in, because it's so important. So right? You're in tune with where you're at emotionally. Right? Okay. And you're like, all right, say, all right, gotta go to work. Empathy switches got to go off. If you know you are in a toxic workplace, right? It's that mental and spiritual activity. You've got to remind yourself, you know what? I gotta shut that down. I gotta go to this toxic workplace. And learning how to keep it off. This is where some of y'all are at. Learning how to keep it off. Or on the down low if you want to. Right? Yeah, learning how to keep it off. Because things will happen. And so let me go ahead and pull it up and we'll share the example. Just lead right into it. Remember, your physical body is the tubing for the nerves that are inside. Your nerves that running from head to toe, all right? Yeah, those nerves, your nervous system, those are electrical wires inside the tubing, right? Your empathy is on the inside of that, flowing all through our veins, right? That empathy is just flowing through us. It comes natural to us. Okay? So let that sink in, okay? Now you understand better why I refer to empathy as the spiritual energy conduit. Okay? Because it is spiritual energy. It's very much like electricity. Think about it. Whenever you experience, like for you, fellow warrior, okay, Chris, when that abuser, it was the abuser's anger you were sensing, not yours. You don't naturally have that. That's my point. Is that you felt it boiling up, right? It was coming from them, not from you. Because about 5 minutes ago, you weren't even experiencing that, right? That's the thing we come to realize. That's how easy it is for an empathic individual to we will experience. And so this is why the evildoers target us. Because they know that if they know that we are still unaware or still having a little empathy on the open side, right? The switch is still a little on. It's on. where you're at, some of y'all, is you've learned how to turn it off for the toxic workplace, but you haven't yet figured out how to keep it off for even anything outside of that. Been there, okay, y'all, been there. I know where you're at. And you'll get through it. That's why when Chris requested this topic, and I'm going to cover it today. It's very important. And I'm going to bring back some additional tips and messages that I have referred to in previous videos about what to do, okay, when you witness certain things like this in public, because it can trigger. We learn not to let it do it, though. And yeah, he did wonderful with reminding himself about that empathy, and he immediately calmed down. So there's your tip right there. Number one, when you see something like this that you want, remember, trauma healing, like I say often, and I mean, I've said this many times in Drive By with Michelle. Yeah, okay? And so you'll find the replay in the playlist, Drive By with Michelle on BBTV. I've said this many times, that in trauma healing, it is a mental and spiritual activity, and a lot of self-reminders that have to be intentional. It has to be intentional. And so that's one right there. It's just to remind yourself. Because if you are starting to sense, especially negative emotion, while at the same time you're sensing the target, and in this situation, the target happened to be a child. So what's happening is because you're an empath, you're able to, and I don't like to use the word absorb because we're not sponges, okay? No. But it was the only one that came to mind in the video description. So we pretty much do, okay? It comes across, we can sense that spiritual energy because of our empathy. We're able to put ourselves in the shoes of others. And so, like everything, it has its pros and its cons, okay? And so the pro is, okay, you can empathize with the child who is basically screaming to tell the abuser to stop. So you're feeling her or his anguish, right? You're experiencing that. Right? So it's like, okay, so you can understand what's happening, where the child is coming from. It's not necessarily a pro, but it just gives you that, okay, well, you can relate. The con there is that the abuser's anger. Remember something, you all. Abusers lash out of jealousy. What is attached to jealousy? Anger. What do we know about narcissists who are parents? Okay, they are jealous of their kids. Maybe not the scapegoat, but, well, no. Excuse me. I stand corrected. They're jealous of the scapegoat, but not the golden child, so to speak. But they will compete with the golden child and the scapegoat. So you got to remember that. If they've got the demon of jealousy, they're going to have the demon of anger. So what happened was you were sensing the abuser's anger through that conduit. It wasn't yours. And see, that's how the enemy tricked us in the past into thinking that those things belonged to us and that it was normal. That, like, no, once we realize that the Godhead on the inside of us is all peace, calm, joy, happiness, and all things positive. And then we realize, oh, okay, because, anger and other stuff, that's not coming from within us. So we have to remind ourselves. And I had to do the same thing. Okay? I had to do the same thing with reminding myself, okay, that's not coming from me. I'm telling y'all, okay? So it takes practice doing that. And that's how you eventually overcome, and you come to a point where when you witness this kind of thing, that you understand, okay, you know what's happening, but you don't allow yourself to, right, you keep that empathy off. And so you learn how to keep it off no matter what. I mean, out there, period. And then when you get in your car, you can learn how to manage it into the neutral position. But it takes a little practice for that too. And so it's a good sign. That's where some of y'all are at. And those of you who haven't gotten there yet, keep going, because you're going to learn how to turn it off for the toxic workplace. And then you got to learn how to keep it off for anything outside of that you witness and whatnot. Okay? And so here's the situation that went down. Said that there was a woman outside of the workplace abusing a little girl openly in the street. And it was so shocking and upsetting. Of course, naturally, it's going to be shocking and upsetting to actually. I mean, usually, you know, you don't see that as much. But see, here's the thing: we do now, and we realize that we've seen that happen more than once before. It just wasn't as prevalent, right? Because we learned that, okay, so they do it behind closed doors more often than they do in public, but then we start to see them doing it in public. Because remember what's happening when you're getting that heightened awareness, the enemy can't hide in plain sight anymore. And so we've witnessed, and I know God brought it back to my remembering, we have witnessed public abuse before between caregiver and child. We didn't know that's what it was. We probably excused it as the child was misbehaving. Cognitive dissonance, right? Yeah, okay. So, understandably so that he wanted to go out and stop the woman, couldn't, because, that worked. Couldn't leave the duties at hand, which is a blessing in disguise, as I said in my response there. And so as he watched, feeling impotent and angry as the two of them passed by and disappeared into the distance, with the little girl screaming in agony for the woman to stop. We get it. And so he said he was so angry he could feel the hate for the woman beginning to well up. But he was thinking if only he could get a hold of that woman. But here's the thing, that hate and anger, remember that was the abusers. What you experienced there was the abuser's level of anger and hate because of her jealousy of her little girl. And I know you said the word assume, but we don't have the demon of assumption. Okay? We don't really know. So all we can tell you is that abuser clearly, if you were experiencing a hate and anger well up, knowing that that's not who you are, right? So there's tip number 2 is find yourself. Wait a minute. I'm a chosen child of God. Those negative emotions don't belong, right? I'm a chosen child of God. Those negative emotions don't belong to me. I hope y'all taking notes. If not, you will, okay? All right, so you want to remind yourself that those negative emotions don't belong to you, okay? Because as a chosen child of God, we don't have those on the inside of us. For many of us chosen ones, I've said this before, and I know that I've had some people even tell me, gosh, it takes a lot to get under your skin, doesn't it? Well, it does. Always has. Takes a lot. And I remember the ex-psycho roommate, okay, I'm bringing this in here real quick. He got so flustered and kept frustrating himself because nothing he was doing was getting an angry rise out of me. So he couldn't understand. Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I was not romantically involved. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't really have any. There's a difference there. So, when you are more invested emotionally, that's a little different. Because, right, I have had those types of moments too. You're not alone. But they were very brief, and it took a lot to get me there. For chosen ones, that's typically how it goes. But when you see that, considering that you yourself, we're survivors of that kind of stuff too. And so we understand where the child's coming from. And we also know how wrong the abuse is. So naturally, especially if you're a guy, okay? Especially if you're a guy, you'd be like, man, if I could just get out there and stop them and get off. I know, we get it. The natural human protective instinct over the child. That's natural. But you got to remind yourself, though, first, to get yourself under control. Okay, to keep yourself under control. Because, like you said, that the devil does. He causes situations like that in public in order to try and get us to step out of character so he can initiate a demonic attack. Okay, yes. So when you realize, okay, you got to remind yourself. There's tip number 3, to remind yourself, okay, hold up a second. This is the work of the devil. That kind of behavior, the abuse, that's the work of the devil. Remind yourself of that. Remind yourself also that, okay, so the devil causing this, so I would experience the negative stuff. Okay, hold on a second. That belong to me. Return to sender. Yeah, to get better control of yourself. So I would tell y'all, that would be one of the reasons for a lot of y'all why you're still in a toxic workplace. God needs you to learn how to do this. Never forget that you're not going to learn how to get control over yourself, your own emotions that are yours, and then by learning what's not yours, being able to separate that so you can get control of yourself. That's why God still has some of you where He's got you, so that you can get a better hold. And so it's a natural part of the process. So I want to say congratulations to y'all. Those of you who have made it this far, that's inspiration for those who are coming up. All right? Yes, who have not yet gotten there. That's huge inspiration. All right? And then those of us, we know exactly where you're at. Now, where you're going to go next, I can speculate, but the order of things can be different for each one of us. But the fact that I know where you're at, been there, many of us have. So it's a matter of, okay, gotta work on that inner work, right? It's all part of that. Daily self-check-in before you leave your residence to go out there, okay? That way you have, it's like a baseline, right? So you have that foundation. You have that, okay, you know where you are at before you leave. And you know, okay, I'm going to a toxic workplace, but you're not stressing about it. You got that. All right, we understand that there's a reason. God still has you there, probably more than one. All right, I'm not going to say that this is the only reason. There could be several reasons why He still has you there. So keep that in mind, because we're not going to learn how to do this if we're not still in a toxic situation. It's not going to happen. It's quite the opposite from what people say. There's a lot of people who are under the impression that you cannot heal from the trauma in an environment where traumatization is occurring. False. The only way you're going to heal from the trauma to get control of yourself is in the toxic environment. After all, if you are in the confines of your own home and you've never learned how to get control of your own emotions, you've never learned how to, never learned about the empathy being the spiritual energy conduit, things like that, how are you going to heal? You're not. God knows. Listen, y'all, God knows what He's doing. And I know some people will be like, wait, but I've been told that you can't. Oh, living proof. And so are you all. Living proof that yes, you can heal. In fact, that's where you're going to heal. Is in a toxic environment with narcissists. And then when you witness it outside the workplace, okay, you happen to see it out the window in the street. So yes, lesson to learn about you. Yep, absolutely. Okay, so yeah, okay, that, like I said, that anger, it was from the abuser, and you realize that you were perfectly fine prior to it. So that's what I'm saying. That's what we learn to do. Okay, you all, is that that's another tip right there for how to overcome the triggers. Is when you sense it, there you go. But he knows that prior to witnessing that, he was doing just fine. So witnessing that, and then a sudden onset of that. No, God said, be slow to wrath, right? So if it's a sudden onset and that intense, then you know that's not, that's from the enemy. Yeah, and the enemy trying to trick you into internalizing it. So luckily you didn't, because you remembered about the empathy. Okay, there you go. Now you get the need to shut it off. I know. Well, that might help some of y'all. Okay, that might be the first step to managing and being able to basically put your empathy basically. Oh, how do I want to word this? um, yeah, more or less, just kind of in the in limbo. Okay, wherever that is. All right, so okay, so you told yourself you're like don't we need it though? Yeah, we do, but we don't. Okay, we don't allow the evildoers right access to our empathy. All right, that's the bottom line right there. So now you get yeah. Yep, that's true too. You are learning how to be a soldier in a spiritual battle. That's what this all is right here, trauma healing and spiritual growth. You are learning how to be the soldier God created you to be. And this is it right here. Is getting a hold of yourself to overcome these triggers. And I understand that, some might be being like, well, how am I going to do that? It's you have to look within. That's the thing. The evildoers will not do that. That you have to look within. God tells us in His Word many times. We got to look within, right? Everything is within, especially in the New Testament, where Jesus is teaching us all. It's all within. It's on the inside. It's on the inside of us. All that power and authority. So when you witness these things in public like that, you'll better understand it's important to keep that empathy switch off. Meaning, you know what? Remind yourself that they want you to feel sorry for them. Now, as far as the child that happened to be the target, I know depending on the circumstances, if you are at work and you are unable to leave the task at hand to call the authorities or anything, it's unfortunate. Okay, it really truly is. And I know that it makes you think about, oh my goodness, what will go on behind closed doors. Don't even entertain that. Okay, because that'll just make you sad. And you don't want to do that. Okay, you don't want to do that. You understand it. The best tip I have is say prayer. Okay, pray for the little girl or the little boy or whoever the target is that the abuser is abusing. Pray for them. Pray for them. Now, here are the tips I have given elsewhere to bring here, because there will be moments that you are going to experience this. Whereas before we knew what we were dealing with, okay, before we knew what we were dealing with, we didn't know what to do either. We would be, let's say, at the grocery store or a restaurant, going to pick up a to-go order or place it to go or whatever. And we would be standing in line, and there's this angry customer, right, yelling at the worker, right, for no reason whatsoever, basically verbally abusing that worker because they had a bad day. No, we used to think that, but not anymore. They're the abuser. And so at that particular time, you would think, okay, we didn't know what to do before. Now we know, hold on a second, there should be a manager on duty, right? Well, you want to locate the manager on duty if need be. So it's all going to depend on the circumstances as to what actions you'll take. So, I mean, I've used that before, upper management, let's say you are in a big grocery store, right? And there is a abuser who is causing a scene, and you see that they could potentially harm someone. Well, because we are not of any authority in their eyes, it's not going to do any good for us to ask them to stop. They'll keep doing it, because remember how they will interpret that as bothering us when it's not really bothering us. It's just, hey, you know what? This is wrong. That's when we go find a manager, an authority figure of the place. If you happen to be like at a park and there's no management and you see something like that going down, that's when you call law enforcement. You got to call whoever it is that got the authority, because of the simple fact that evildoers, these narcissists, they're not going to listen to us anyway, because in their eyes, we are less than them. We don't have any position of power in their eyes. So this is why if you have to, and you got to get law enforcement involved, you got to get people that are in position of authority, because they're the ones who will be better equipped, if you will, to handle that kind of situation. I know it's tough because you want to play Good Samaritan, and well, you are being a Good Samaritan by calling in the authority figures to mitigate that. Because that kind of situation in public make not just you, but it doesn't make us uncomfortable anymore, because we know where it's coming from. If it still makes you uncomfortable, you will overcome that as well. And you will know, okay, you know what? I got to go get a manager. I got to call law enforcement. I got to go get an authority figure, because this can get out of hand real quick. Use that discernment. If it happens to be like the example I shared before, some aging narc, maybe in their 70s, and they're, for whatever reason, just, it doesn't matter what the reason is, but let's say you're being checked out, right? And they start throwing their stuff on the conveyor belt, right? Huffing and puffing, right? Trying to make a scene, but they're not really causing any harm, or they're not causing any imminent danger, It's best to just, like I did with the cashier when she looked at me like, and I went, don't say nothing, because that kind of situation is exactly what they wanted. They wanted us to say something. And so we don't. But there wasn't a need to go grab an authority figure, because, again, it was not severe. It was just them throwing a little temper tantrum. But then you have circumstances where it might be a little bit more escalated or elevated, if you will. So that, you know what I'm saying? Discernment and assessment of the situation. And so in our fellow warrior's case there, he wanted to call the authorities, but they were out of sight before he was able to get the chance to. So it happened. It's unfortunate, but now you'll know. Yes, okay, good. And we will join you in that prayer for that child as well. Well, you know what? Yes, I agree with you as far as having the child being put in a loving home. But there's one thing I will tell you about some of those organizations and things like that. They're part of the demonic matrix. So you have to, you've got your good and bad. Now, don't get me wrong. But it will take some serious research. Because I found out, mind you, y'all, I was not surprised, but it took me a little while to get over the wow behind it, because I had applied to agencies that were responsible for supposedly preventing abuse. Only to find out after a mock interview, because they were just playing with me. I picked up on it during the interview. Oh, I did. I picked up on exactly what they were doing. They were just mocking me. Anyhow, playing the fool to let the fool think they fooled me. And I knew better. And so I learned, I don't even think it was a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks later. Yeah. See, I had to do some reflecting. I mean, I did catch it. I had to analyze that after the fact that, wait a minute, they just exhibited the full circle of love bombing with the interview and then having me download and all of the the uniform attire and things like that, like trying to get my hopes up, right? Only to turn around later and discard by telling me that they've decided on another candidate. Thank you for your time, blah, 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 blah. I was like, oh, I see what they just did. Okay, so I started connecting the dots. And God was like, yeah, see what did they do during the interview? So I had to do some analyzing on it. Caught it, memory bank, analyze later. And then it was like another week or two after that I hear about that same agency, yes, being investigated for child abuse. The very agency claiming to be protecting and helping to prevent and protect against abuse, the people in there were doing the abuse. Let that sink in. You got to remember something about the demonic realm, that narcissistic matrix. You need to remember this, that the abuse is normal for that. To the matrix, the abuse is normal. I know it takes a while, but it is. It's normal for the demonic realm. And I am hearing sirens like crazy today. Absolutely. Who knows? But it is that time of year. I know. It takes a bit. Okay, so yeah, predators can be attracted to working with children. Absolutely. The devil is obsessed with children because we're still looking into the demonic possession thing being around personality development. We're still looking into that. I've got it on a post-it note over there, so I've not forgotten. But the devil is obsessed with children. Why do you think every time we turn around, the Matrix is using children and animals to tug at heartstrings? Think about that. See, I remember seeing it down the rabbit hole because of the P Matrix, and how both sides will use children as a lure. Yes, they will use children as a lure to trauma bond people to one side or the other, tugging at the heartstring. Got to protect the children. Oh, yeah, you do. But they're not really doing anything to protect the children, are they? The mind, right? They go through that indoctrination system. That's right. To see who will become prisoners of their own minds and who can be turned into a Jezebel. So there you go. All right, I gave you those tips. And then, of course, just remember where you're at. If you're out in public and you happen to witness that, you learn to not let it trigger you. You remind yourself, okay, hold up a second. They're not going to listen to me. I'm a nobody in their eyes. So we got to go find somebody that actually has the position of authority in that place. And if it happens to be, again, like I said, at a park, or now if you're at a theme park or a festival or what have you, there's going to be some sort of law enforcement guard there. There's going to be, or should be. So that's who you would go to in that type of environment. And of course, it's going to depend on the situation too. Okay? So never forget that. But in general, all right? And, you learn how to not let the abuser's negative emotion get to you by managing and reminding yourself, that's that empathy. I gotta shut that off. That ain't mine. That's how you learn how to shut it off, is by reminding yourself that that negative stuff's not coming from within you. As a chosen one, no. All right, spiritual warriors for Christ, it's not coming on the inside. All of that is external. Remind yourself of that all negative emotions are external. Okay, and remind yourself, if you have to, that when Jesus died on that cross, he flipped the script. Yeah. Because now the Godhead is on the inside, as opposed to being external in the Old Testament. So the enemy knows that. He don't want to accept it, though. He don't want to accept it. Of course not. Remember, he hears us, but he ain't listening. God knows that too. He's like, oh, I know. He's just a little toddler. He ain't listening. So that's why we stay focused, okay, on helping one another who truly wants to help. Absolutely. And I know it is challenging, especially, when we see somebody in public being abused, and it can trigger. So we'll hold on a second. Hold on. Like you recognize, Chris, right? That 5 minutes earlier you were feeling just fine. See, that really right there starts the whole thing. Hold up. That awareness, right? Now heightened awareness to overcome those triggers. Because, you've done the daily self check-in, so you know where you're at. You're at work. You're good, right? So you know that about yourself. And then all of a sudden you witness something like that in the street, or out the window or whatever, and it can do that. It can trigger, and that anger and the hate that starts to well up, right? To get in there, trying to really. You just got to stop and recognize. Hold on a second. I was fine 5 minutes ago. That don't make sense. So let me share with y'all something else to help y'all put it in perspective, that right there is an exercise that we're going to do continuously going forward. So you got to get used to doing it, because it's all part of that awareness. So, for example, yesterday, I had a couple of pairs of shoes that I wore during the beginning of the mending season, if you will, for more of a therapeutic type activities, if you will. All right. And the shoes were a bit more therapeutic for a short time. And so I still had them. For whatever reason, nobody was wanting to buy them off the next door, so they ended up in the donation pile. After I put them on yesterday, God said, okay, I want you to put them on for a minute. And so I was thinking, oh, well, maybe I can wear these now as just regular shoes and not therapeutic shoes. Because before I put those shoes on, I was fine, right? Did the morning walk, right? Yep, doing some weightlifting. I made another juice with some protein in it. I'm doing some cooking, and everything's fine, right? Up until the moment I put on those shoes, and I'm walking around a little bit, and I start putting my makeup on, and I was like, hold up a second. Starting to experience something that I went, I already overcame that long time ago. Hold up a second. And so God said, go sit down for a minute. I said, okay, well, what about the gray shoes? I'm like, well, I'm going to show you something. All right. I put those on. The first pair was a purple pair. Second pair is a gray pair. So I put them on. Slightly different as far as the cushioning, right? And so I was like, oh, at first I thought, okay, no, the gray one's like, no, that's better. I can see these being remember, our thoughts are not God's thoughts. This is a great example for y'all right here, how our thoughts are not God's thoughts. He guided me to put those on because he wanted to show me something. I was like, okay, so I go back over to the sink and the mirror, and I proceed to get ready. And all of a sudden, I'm like, hold up a second. I'm experiencing this now. I'm like, wait. We have already overcome that too. What is going on? And that's when I was like, okay, hold up. He said, all right, go grab your regular sneakers you've been wearing. He said, get those on. So take them off. Because I had a bag of stuff that was going to the donation center. That's what we were getting ready to leave to go there and then pick up a few items, veggie-wise. And so God knew I was getting ready, and he knew I tried to sell those sneakers, but nobody would take. And I was like, all right, well, no big deal. So he had me take those off and put the other ones on that I've been wearing. And immediately I was like, oh, that's what you were trying to show me. He said, exactly, because the other two pairs of shoes were, one, did not have enough around the top of the foot as far as support. And then the other pair was for, I want to say the other pair was actually designed more for people who are flat-footed, and I'm not flat-footed. So I didn't need where it was, what it was doing was the cushioning was hitting certain pressure point that we're good. We haven't had any issues with those for several months now. So I was like, okay, hold up a second. Because it was actually, right, it was kind of like trying to make me think that I was relapsing or something. And I'm like, nah, that ain't right. Because, and God's like, yeah, no, you're not relapsing. It's just that those shoes, while I wore them, actually didn't help as much as I would have thought. They actually, they served a purpose, but they weren't the right shoes either. But see, because my parasympathetic nervous system wasn't quite awake, all the way awake yet. Right? It was awake, but it just wasn't awake enough to know that. You see? So I was unable to tell that. So there I am wearing them anyhow, the whole time, and then when I stopped wearing them, got the regular one. And so it's like God said, yeah, because I knew, I was like, hold up a second. I want y'all to understand the importance of getting into the habit of recognizing it's that awareness about yourself. It's like, hold up a second. I've been fine all morning. And then all of a sudden that don't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then it's nonsense. There's something else going on there. Because we know the enemy is obsessed with oxygen and circulation. Why? Because he knows that we need proper circulation to eliminate the metal toxicity associated with radio frequency poisoning. See, he knows that. So he's going to do all kinds of things to try to hinder our circulation and prevent us from getting the oxygen our body needs, because getting that oxygen and all of that, get that circulation going, right? We're going to eliminate those metal toxins. So never forget that. I talk more about that on the Patreon channel. That link is also in the video description below for quicker access. And y'all will unlock some awesome real-world connection to the spiritual realm, sermons, and more for as little as $5 a month. And so I want to say thank you to all who have become members of our Patreon channel and to all who will. All right. We got more stuff coming, because Patreon now offers us, that's right, a digital product line to sell on the Patreon channel. So we've got some things that we're going to have for you all there. Absolutely. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to let you know there's something. We got stuff coming. Oh, yeah. Because it took me a little while, because I had to think about, oh, my gosh, Patreon allows us to sell digital product now. Okay, so what am I going to do? Like, I got to do something that aligns with what we talk a lot about on that channel, right? I was like, I got to do something that aligns with it. Well, stay tuned. All right, you'll know. I'll let y'all know. I'm not going to leave you in the dark. In fact, that's going to be the one thing I will send the occasional email marketing thing out when that is in play, okay? Everybody gets the newsletter at the first of every month. And then occasionally, I don't bombard your email with a bunch of email marketing. We don't do pushy at Consulting for Heightened Awareness. That's the narcissism side of marketing. We don't do that. And so I want to thank all y'all for your patience, as we continue to co-create with our Creator to bring you all beneficial things that's going to help you. Because not just from firsthand experience, but also from researching and God's wisdom and the revelation, and then just knowing what we know about ourselves intimately, I can bring y'all some great things. And that's what we're doing to help you. And so we go back to how these abusers, right? Thank you, Chris. That's exactly right. When I was sharing about the interview that I had, right? And the mock by showing how they have managed to infiltrate those organizations that are supposed to be the good guys. And then corruption in high places is what the devil is all about. There you go. Corruption, spiritual wickedness in high places. That's right. Corruption is what he's all about. And then amazing how quickly a mood can change. Well, let me tell y'all something. Right. We watched it on the narcissist, right? The evildoers, how quickly their mood fluctuates. And then we realized, oh, that's what they're trying to do to us. Is to get us to have a mood that fluctuates. I'm going to tell y'all something. Chosen one, yeah, we typically, when you sit down and reflect, knowing you, remember, God said, yeah, to know who we are in Christ, we have to look within. Right? We got to do that inner work. We got to look within. Who are we? Look on the inside. Right? So we know that we're typically not the type that would have our moods swinging all the time. I would share with y'all. I remember the ex-psycho roommate tried to tell me how I was feeling. And I remember just looking at him and saying, no, my mood does not fluctuate like that. His face got red. He looked down. He stomped off because he knew I was telling the truth. So just to help y'all put it in perspective also, because the worldly garbage of, women when they have their cycles that, oh, watch out, because they're going to go into B mode. Never did. Never have. And I remember the ex-psycho roommate said, man, you never know when yours comes around because my mood doesn't fluctuate like that. In other words, we realized that we've had that ability within us the whole time to not allow certain things to affect us that way, in a negative way. Because now we know why. That the Godhead on the inside of us, there was no reason. So if we go through our cycle and it's over with and blah, 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 and that's also a result of radio frequency poisoning. Oh, yeah, we come to realize that there's a lot. And if you hear something popping, you all, that's the lid. The crock pot is going, it's on low. But for the first time in my life, I'm making chili at 9 a.m. Eastern time. I had never done that before. And I was like, yeah, that's what it looks like living narc-free, y'all. Oh, yeah, wait. We got more coming for you. All right, that's your inspo. Okay, so, yeah, because I wanted it to slow cook throughout the day. Come on now. And it's funny because of the time of year, and a lot of people would think that I'm making chili because it's a little bit cooler outside again. No, it has nothing to do with that. Even the last few days where it's been pretty humid and hot again, it was on my spirit. I wanted some chili anyway. I didn't care what the temperature was outside. That's my body telling me that there's something in that, the nutrients. Okay, obviously with the it's black bean chili, y'all. So with the beef, the iron, obviously the protein, and then other things, the potassium. Of course, tomatoes are loaded with potassium, y'all. And I know for blood type O, tomatoes are neutral. Yeah, tomatoes are loaded with potassium, and for blood type O, they're neutral. I can tell you that much. Which means that they're a benefit. I mean, they've got some nutritional benefit there. Anyhow, yes, my Skechers sneakers, exactly. Yeah. Not necessarily with rice. Not today. Not today, but we will with some brown rice noodle. We'll make like a chili spaghetti of sorts. And yeah, you'll see it on the Patreon channel. Everybody's gonna know. And a narc woman might want attention from being, around that time of the month. Oh, yeah, being over the top. Yes. Thank you for pointing that out. That's the other thing, because chosen one typically would not, the female chosen ones that go through that. Now, males go through their changes as well, but chosen ones who are female typically never did, get anywhere near B mode, right? But a narcissistic woman, a female who's a narcissist, oh yeah. And they do that to get attention. Absolutely. Spot on. Because after all, what do we know about narcissists, right? Yeah, they're attention seekers. Yeah, they want all the attention they can get from wherever they can get it. And you know what? That's another reason why. They go out there to deliberately see who they can trigger like that in public, because that would be another way for them to get attention, but also to cause a scene. Remember, they are the causers of strife, right? Strife, meaning, discord, making a scene, all of that, right? The negative stuff. So they do that because it gets them attention. It just feeds that low vibration of the demonic matrix, right? It feeds the low vibration. And it just, they think that dishing out the abuse like that makes them look powerful or superior somehow. What they don't seem to realize is that no, they look like the pathetic fools that they are and the evildoers that they are. They look just like the demonically possessed beings that they are by dishing that stuff out. So they don't realize it, but they think it makes them look bigger and better. It gives them that illusion of power and control when they dish that stuff out. And I know it takes a while. We're like, man, oh man, oh man, oh man. And, it does take time. All right, you all never forget that this trauma healing journey, it does take time. And so, just like our fellow warrior requested to talk about overcoming traumas and stuff, and then of course it's and more. So if y'all tuning in later, you'll catch the tips and stuff on the replay in the beginning. And even if I recap them or whatnot, in the second half, but we get to that and more. And so it's just whatever, we get into a conversation. I provide y'all some example. I share some real world things as your inspo. I want to make sure that y'all stay inspired and stay motivated to keep going with the trauma healing. We don't want y'all to give up. Remember, God wants his chosen one to heal. The devil doesn't want people to heal, because if you don't heal, you stay traumatized and trauma bonded to the world, then you're easier to what? Exactly. Abuse. Yep. to excuse. There you go. That's another good point. We were talking about that with the female narcissist using that time of the month as an excuse to openly abuse their partner or whoever is around them. Oh, I only said that because it's this. Oh, I only did that because it was the time of the month. Don't believe those lies. Yep, there you go. Abusing whoever they can, once a month because they'll use that as an excuse. Do not fall for that red flag. If you come across a female narcissist and they are using their monthly thing as an excuse to abuse, because chosen ones who are female, we never did that. Never have, never will. Think about it. And then eventually we don't have those anymore. Because radio frequency poisoning, well, let's just say once we realize that that's what causes it. See, y'all got to remember something. Heightened awareness. Heightened awareness. There's a reason why the enemy needs to know when females have their last thingy. And it has nothing to do with bearing children. Think about, was it Jacob? Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. His wife was what, like 99 years old? According to God's word. And she still was able to give, still able to give her husband a son. Come on now. It ain't got nothing to do with that. Right, it has to do with whether or not we are still slightly anemic. Because what do we do when we're slightly anemic? Yeah, we'll eat. Not quite so healthy, right? That's right. And not only that, it's for the enemy to gauge whether that particular radio frequency poisoning is still working on us to cause us to lose blood like that. God said, I never designed your body to do that. Oh, yeah, he told me that. He said, I didn't design your body to do that. To lose valuable nutrients and things. God said, I did not design your body to do that. But what a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, right? Yeah. Chris, thank you. Sarah, who still gave him a son. Was it Jacob? Help me remember. Yeah. And they still had lead in their pencils during that time. Thank you. Oh, my goodness. But yes, thank you. Some things slip our mind from time to time when it comes to who is who in God's word, but you get the point that the enemy only wants to know, because I had to ask God that. I was like, why is it such a big deal that whenever you go into that matrix for a certain thing, and then they want to know, because I went to have a stitch removed and they wanted to know when my last one was. And I was like, why? I'm having a stitch removed. What did that have to do with, they wanted to see if the radio frequency, and then when God reminded me, it's like, yeah, you know all about that. Then the enemy just needs to see if that part of the radio frequency is still working on you, on us. And so there you go. I'll have more. Oh, I will have more on that, but we're going to take that to the Patreon channel. Absolutely. There's a lot more to uncover, and we are not done yet. I don't know. I mean, this is like ongoing in the spiritual awakening and God's reality, because boy, the more we uncover, the more we learn, not just about ourselves. Remember that heightened awareness is about ourselves, what's going on, what the enemy is up to. And I want to remind y'all of something. The enemy has to know if his stuff is working. So he needs content like this out here. That's right. He's going to play a head game, try to act like he's trying to stop Consulting for Heightened Awareness and other content creators who are sharing God's spiritual truths. He's going to act like he's trying to stop us, but he's not. He can't. He can't stop God. He needs this stuff out here. He wants to see who's going to catch on, or who's going to believe it, right? Who's going to understand it? Who's going to get it, right? Yeah, he needs to see who's going to actually believe these truths. Because remember, I don't remember the original author, so if y'all know who it is, let's give credit where credit is due. But yeah, the truth is the best camouflage, because there's a lot of them out here who aren't going to believe it. Remember, God tells us that too. That these evildoers, the narcissists, they're going to be running around, right? In some cases, forever learning without ever coming to the knowledge of truth. Think about it. They will never come to the knowledge of truth, but be busybodies out here trying to learn or be up in everybody else's business and things like that. So, but they never come to the truth. Sound doctrine, which pretty much is the truth. And then God's spiritual truth. They don't want to hear none of that, because they're so conditioned to stay inside their limited belief system, inside their comfort zone, inside that matrix that tells them what to do. It tells them what to do, what to eat, what to wear. Remember the motto of the matrix? Obey. Sit down. Obey. Don't ask questions, right? Because what do? That's what we see with these narcissists. I mean, gosh almighty, what do you got to do? Give them a little money, give them a place to stay, give them some clothes, give them some food, and they won't ask no question. In other words, give them everything they want so they don't ask questions. But see, chosen one, as truth seekers, we start to see, hold on a second, what's up with that? Because God tells us that he created us so strategically that the enemy cannot keep up. The way that our body is designed to get rid of foreign substances and other things, and to be restored naturally, that's all God. That's the Godhead. Glory be to God. Glory be to God. So count that all joy, y'all. Again, discernment, of course. Because I know that the enemy wants to see how many he can turn into human lab rats, right? Exactly. But chosen one, we're all right. We know. And we keep on keeping on. And keep doing the inner work to overcome those triggers. Absolutely. And, like we covered, you could totally do it. There is absolutely no reason. And that's right. Thank you, Abraham, the mother of Isaac. Thank you. Okay. I don't know why I was thinking Jacob, but okay, yes, it was. It was Abraham. Sarah gave birth to Isaac. Think about, in her 90s. Absolutely. See, God is in full control. And you are correct about that. We have a right to ask questions. Right. Yet we have a right that comes from God that we can ask questions. See, the enemy doesn't want people asking questions. Right? Well, go figure. Like the narcissists don't like it when we ask them questions, especially about their behavior. Now, they do like it if we ask them about their area of expertise. Oh my gosh, be ready for the floodgates to open and to be sitting there for an hour. Okay? They love talking about that. Because they got to brag, right? Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. Remember, God said, perilous times. Men will be lovers of self. Boasters, meaning brag. Braggers. Proud. Blasphemers. Yep, lovers of themselves more than lovers of God. 2 Timothy 3. You're seeing it right there. So that's it. And all part of and listen, overcoming the triggers, like I said, it's totally doable. And then God steps in and reminds us, oh, wait, hold up a second. And so you got to learn that a lot of the stuff inside that matrix is designed to do what? Instill fear. Because fear is the foundation for abuse, like I talk about often. So we have to keep that in mind, that if we feel ourselves being triggered, we learn to go, hold up a second, wait. I was fine 2 minutes ago. Where's that coming from? That becomes second nature. You do that more often. So yes, we're recapping on this. It's so important for the trauma healing. Is that when you start to sense, you're like, wait a minute. You're like anger, hate, even that jealousy ping. I know it's so uncomfortable, isn't it? We don't like that at all. We don't like any of the negative spiritual energies in motion. But jealousy, boy, it has something. It has like a flavor of its own. It's just like, ew, no. I'm serious. I remember it because when the ex-psycho roommate was trying to make me jealous for his pretend mistress. I'm telling y'all, listen, if you haven't yet gotten your copy, whether you get it through Draft to Digital on multiple ebook platforms, everybody, all right, and also a physical copy from Draft to Digital, they offered us a print version of the book, and I believe that's what we're going to end up doing, you all. Is there are print copies available. I'm going to, you know what? Let me make myself a note here. I'm going to paperback copies. I got to find a way to get that onto the website for y'all. I don't recall when I did that. It was new. It was new to me because when I first published with Draft to Digital, they didn't have that option for me as far as a paperback or physical copy. So now they do. And so, Real Events of Narcissistic Abuse, Someone's Survival Guide. All right, you all. That pretend mistress story is situation number 9. And so, and you get your PDF easy peasy right off the website, link in the video description below, and then also link to my books, I believe should be down there. But if not, you'll find it under BTBW Magazine, my book / publication and reviews on the website and the navigation drop down menu. And so, I highly encourage y'all to read that. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah. But he was trying to make me jealous of his pretend mistress. And so but his own jealousy, okay? His own jealousy. Yes, you all, male narcissists can be jealous of female chosen one just as much as male chosen one. Not to mention, y'all, have you ever stopped to think about this for a second? Narcissists are jealous, right? They're not just jealous of us. They're jealous of other narcs. Let that sink in. But anyhow, He was trying to project, and I felt that. I was like, oh man, no. I was like, I've never been that way. I have never had that bone in my body. Never been that way. So, wasn't about to let him know. He was trying to get me to internalize it. I was like, no. I was like, because God intuition, the radar was really loud. And I was like, yeah, you ain't getting in here. That's right. Jealousy it does. That, you know what? Great point. Great point. Is that, jealousy can leads to suspicion, paranoia, and it can even lead to some criminal activity. Absolutely. And it does come with the demon of anger. So, for many of us, chosen ones never have been jealous. So, that's not going to trigger us. We're going to recognize it and automatically go, you ain't getting in here. But certain things like you can start to feel the abuser's hate, that can trigger anger. Even though we never have true hate in us, but the worldly garbage, you know how we speak, right? Say, oh, well, I hate how they do that. I hate how they, you know what I'm saying? That kind of thing, we have to undo that. Okay, we have to outgrow that. Because we don't really hate. We don't have the demon of hate. But you can sense that. You can sense the level of hate because of the spiritual energy conduit, the empathy, right? So you can sense it. And it does make you kind of want to think, I mean, of course, you hate evil. Yeah, even God hates evil. But it's not the demon of hate. It's a different kind. It's just like, you know what? We don't like this. And we know it's wrong. But the enemy would like to trick us into thinking that it's the demon of hate that we're experiencing. Now, we are sensing it from the abuser because they're the ones that have the demon of hate, whereas we're just sitting here going, no, we do not like what we're seeing. And so, it can serve as a trigger as well. And then anxiety is another big one that can serve as a trigger. So all of those things, if we learn to go, hold up a second, really, we learn to step back and go, wait, if I was feeling fine just a few minutes ago, this is not making sense all of a sudden because God's not all of a sudden like that with certain things. Now, he does do some things suddenly, but he's not going to overwhelm. So to help y'all put it in perspective, that incident I just shared with you all that happened yesterday when I put those shoes on, I was like, hold up a second. I already overcame that long time ago. Why that should not even be coming back. So, and God's like, yeah, no, it's not. And so by the time we got up to go live and then beyond, God started to get us get all of that, out of the way, and then even threw out some today. So he's on it suddenly, but it's going to take, by this evening, do a full 24-hour cycle, okay, for it to finally go, level back out. Right. Hate as a figure of speech and not actual hate. Exactly. But the world conditioned us to think that we actually hate when we don't. Big difference. And so we see that kind of hate, right, being played out in many ways. And y'all got to remember something, though, too, right? We do live on a world stage. So what I want y'all to do is remember, if you are still watching television, especially the news, think about crisis actors, okay? And so if you see a riot or whatever, I always used to stop and ask myself, gee, how much are they paying them actors? After I learned what was really going on. Because there's a lot of these things that are staged events, and there are paid actors. They're being paid to do what they're doing, to make a scene, so that the news media can go, hey, guess what's going on here? And get whoever's sleeping all riled up. That's how it works. They don't even know. That's right. So, yeah, I know that's not what some people will be like, what's she talking about with that? Oh, welcome to God's reality, the spiritual awakening, where we understand that the world is a stage and that there's plenty of room for us to get into our purpose. So, there you go, everybody. We have reached the 1.5 hour mark. And I want to go ahead and just kind of like wrap it up, remind y'all of a few things. Okay. So one more time, overcoming trauma trigger really is, a step-by-step process, but it's definitely about getting control of ourselves and our empathy and making sure that we're not giving our empathy and compassion over to the dog. We're not casting pearls before swine anymore. And so in order to do that, we do have to have control of ourselves. And so it's going to be a lot of self-reminding and mental and spiritual activities that have to be intentional because it's all part of that awareness. It's got to be aware. Okay, hold up a second, right? All of a sudden, you're feeling fine. You do the daily self-check-in. You know you're good. You get to work. You get to the store or wherever it is you got to go. And then all of a sudden, boom, maybe a little anger or anxiety comes your way, trying to trigger you. The intentional activities where you got to stop and remind yourself, that's mental, and then spiritual. Wait a minute, where's my empathy at? Where we got that sucker? Right? And so just stop yourself. Okay, God will do that. You got to let him. See, that's the thing. God will do it. Ask God. Ask him. Say, hey, help me remember to stop. And, well, I was fine 2 minutes ago. Where's that coming from? Because you will automatically know that it's external and it's coming from somewhere. I may it be coming through, like I said before, a song, commercial, something on TV if you're watching it, that kind of thing. It can come from a number of things. So, especially a narcissist. All right, never forget that. And then, of course, negative thoughts. Yeah. So you want to address that immediately. You do not want to just, let it go by the side. You want to address it the here and now. Hold up a second. I was fine a couple minutes ago. What's going on? Ask God. And if he needs to show you where and who it's coming from, he will. All right? And so that will help you. Okay. It doesn't belong to you. And you can practice this too for those of you who haven't yet. The best thing I can tell you also is when you stop, the first thing you do is, hold on a second, rebuke in the name of Jesus. I rebuke the anger in the name of Jesus. Where's it coming from? You see? So you get used to doing that. Even if you don't say rebuke in the name of Jesus out loud, God hears you in the subconscious. Okay, he hears you. So you say, I say return to sender in Jesus' name. Same name. Return to sender in Jesus' name. What is going on? Where'd that come from? So that's how you do it. All right? That is how you do it. And you practice that. And you will overcome that trigger. Because you'll finally get to that place of, it ain't coming from me. It's not coming from the Godhead. That's on the inside. So there you go. All right. So never forget February 18th of 2024. Action creates traction. For those of you who are, you are starting to unpack that bag, right? You got the 5-piece coaching course under your belt. You've got access to that material and lifetime access to the material and the community forum with that course because you're going to have more than one vision. And so we now have put yesterday's how to create a vision board, motivational message inside the community forum. I've got the link, the YouTube link to that video available inside because it does. It is a great accompaniment to the 5-piece coaching course. All right, so once you start getting the vision, you got your little workbook, right? You're writing them suckers out. But you had to unpack that bag, get some things on there, talent, gift, the new skill sets, right? And so that's the prerequisite. You got to have something on that, right? For the action creates traction, because I'm going to give y'all action step and tip for how to start putting those things into action that you've learned, the new thing. All right. Well, they're not new after you learn it, but you know what I'm talking about. Another skill set that goes with what's in alignment that God has showed you between your talents and gift. You'll see it. And then there's a skill set that you have to learn. So you either got to be researching for that skill set, or at least know about it and maybe in the process of learning it, or already learned it and you're practicing it. So wherever you're at with that, but you got to have at least a known skill set that you have to learn that goes with that. You have to identify it. Come and attend that live online coaching event, February 18th, 2024, around 2 p.m. Eastern time. It is going to be in place of the usual Let's Just Chat show, because it is a Sunday. All right. And so you get your ticket. It's digital. And then you'll also see the unlisted video link. You want to save that, but that's where you will attend the live, and you can catch it on the replay. So even if you can't attend the live event, you still want to get your ticket, because you can catch the replay. And even if you do attend the live and you want to watch it again, you can. As long as you have that video link, you'll be able to watch that online event on the replay as often as you need to, as long as it's available. And I don't plan on taking it down, so there you go. Okay, everybody, so keep on keeping on. And if you have any questions about that, don't hesitate to reach out. And bless you all too. Thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, and I'm glad that I'm able to get on here. And yes, you don't want to get caught off guard with that empathy. Good point. All right, remember the enemy loves to try and catch us off guard. Yes, okay. All right, so there you go. And don't forget, I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA's Truth Seeker podcast, streaming on the YouTube channel Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center. Trauma healing and spiritual growth occur with God's wisdom, basic scientific facts, tried and true technique, and more here and at CHAAcademyBTBW.com. The link to the Academy is in the description below for quicker access. Some of you all may need to copy and paste the link to view what CHA Academy offers to help you level up your trauma healing and spiritual growth. Sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your support. Till next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father, and you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.